saying Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. That's all praises be unto the Most High Yahweh. In the name of his son, Yahushai. And special thanks to all the elders and the brothers out there doing the work. And, another special shout out to the elders who give clarification and information to those who are just starting out in their journey. And for continuing to do the work for, so long to attract those who might be lost and bring them into the truth. But I'm only doing this live because it's imperative that I do so. I had a dream, a vision, whatever you want to call it. I'm still reeling from it. Just hearing so many brothers having dreams, I always said in the back of my mind, like, man, like the Most High don't seem to be talking to me, but man, like just wait up on the Lord and he'll renew your strength. He gave me a vision last night of what it might be like to be amongst the elect. So I guess I'll just get started. Actually, let me grab my phone real quick. I'm sorry, I'm all disorganized right now because I'm just trying to record this while I can remember it. But 1 second, I'm going to go ahead and bring up a couple of scriptures. But I'm going to get this started. So in this dream, because my name is Hayael, for those of you who haven't caught any of my latest videos of me teaching on the streets, YouTube takes my videos down because of the way I preach. I'm not changing a thing. I invite on a case-by-case basis, but that's neither here nor there. Let me grab this one scripture, though. We're going to go ahead and grab Joel 2:28. This is Joel 2:28. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. So this is what this is in this case, right? So the way it begins is, I'm not sure why, but I was in this almost like a corporate-like building. It was a very, very huge campus. But it functioned almost like high school in a sense. Basically, a group of young adults being, we were grouped together. I'm not sure by what type of rank or file, but it was almost like classes or like groups or whatever. But it starts with being in this campus-like place. And we were doing something that was akin or like PE back in high school, and the sporting event that we were indulging in was almost like fencing in a sense, but it was like fencing like with sticks. Anybody who's familiar with like fencing or Filipino stick fighting, anything like that, where you score points by hitting your opponent, that's what we were doing. It was almost like light combat training. And after watching a few people go at it, I was paired with this Edomite. And this Edomite was a very cocky and brash person. And while we were going, we were competing, he was taunting me and things of that nature. And for whatever reason, he kept like holding his stick like basically downward, like and across his body, like he was guarding himself, but his fingers were left exposed. So instead of trying to break through his guard, I just hit him in the hand. I kept tapping his hand no matter how he held his stick. And after a while, he got frustrated that, essentially I was besting him, in combat. So he basically, after I hit him and I disarmed him, he threw his stick and he gave up. And at that point, I could tell there was something sinister about this individual, but it wasn't that important at the time. So, all of a sudden, we're back in our classrooms. The physical education session had ended, and we're back in our classrooms. And all of a sudden, we hear this like alarm, like there's an alert going out, and we think it's a mass shooting. And Me and another Issacharite, we hide in this, like, it was almost like just like a coat closet, a little closet. And, it's a classroom. So if people are going to hide, it's obvious where people are going to hide at. So, we're in there hiding, and, I see a lock on the door, and I tell the Issacharite, I'm like, hey, man, like, hold the door, and I'm going to lock it. And he, I hold the door, he locks it. And I remember we had to do that twice for some reason. I'm not sure why, but we had to lock it twice. And then, we hear the classroom door open, and we're hearing like what sounds like gunshots. And while we were in this closet, though, I found this device, and it was called it was like a cranial or facial reconstructor. Yeah, it sounds like something off of Looney Tunes. And I was like, man, what is this? Like, I was like, why would you have something like this? And I was reading a diagram on the side of it, and it said to point it at somebody's head that had been disintegrated. And, of course, you pull the trigger, you shoot it, and it would reconstitute them. And I was like, man, this is what the fuck is this? And right as I'm trying to like mull all this over and make sense of it, somebody opens the closet door, and it's this person in blue scrubs, like almost like medical scrubs, and they have what it looks like basically a shotgun, but it was a disintegrator, like a facial disintegrator, like it was the counterpart to the facial reconstructor. And I was like, oh shit, like this is where it ends. So I closed my eyes and I made peace with the Lord, and a scripture came to mind. And I'm gonna go ahead and get that right now, 1 second. But he pulled the trigger, and for a moment, everything went black, and I thought I had died. But let me get this scripture real quick. It's going to be Deuteronomy 32 and 39. See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. So the Most High kills and he makes alive. To those who are endeavoring to be part of the elect and the 1/3, we are going to go through things where it seems like death is certain. But stick with the Lord. Maintain your faith, right? But to continue on with the dream. So everything goes black, and I'm thinking like, damn, I'm dead. All of a sudden, like I'm aware again, and I'm just like, okay, like, the Bible, in Second Ezra, it says, when your spirit departs, it returns unto the Father, you receive your judgment and all that. So I'm thinking like, shit, I must be in paradise. Well, paradise looks an awful lot like that corporate building I was in. So I don't know what's going on. But at the time, I was like really groggy and things were bleary. And I stumble and stagger my way to a bathroom. In some way, somehow, I didn't run into anybody. But I'm looking in, this mirror. And for anybody who has ever been in a corporate building, the way the lighting, the fluorescent lighting works, when you look in the mirror, things look very washed out, right? Colors look kind of like dull, and things kind of just don't look as vibrant, and they lack their luster. But I'm looking in the mirror, and I mean, there's blood everywhere. And I'm talking about there was blood in my hair, blood on my face, blood on my neck and clothes. But I'm not hurt. There are no scars. There are no physical abrasions, nothing. And I'm feeling my face like, oh man, like I know I got shot. I know I got shot. And I'm trying to make sense of what's going on. And then all of a sudden, somebody, and I distinctly remember it was to my left. They came in and they were in those medical scrubs and they had one of those shotguns. And, he's like, hey, what are you doing here? And I was so dumbstruck. I couldn't even respond to him. And then he shot me. At least he tried to. And he pulled the trigger. I heard a loud bang. And then we both looked at my chest because he tried to shoot me center mass. And I realized I wasn't hurt. And I was like, holy shit. And then all of a sudden, a spirit came over me. I don't know what it was, but it said, go tear him in half. And I picked him up, literally by his clavicle or his rib cage, and I just tore him in two. Literally, I just ripped him in half. And it just occurred to me at that moment, I was like, oh shit, I'm part of the elect. And then you would assume getting that information, you would be ecstatic, but I was surrounded by these people in these medical scrubs. And it's not that I doubted the Lord or I feared, but it just, so many questions were assailing my mind at that moment. I didn't know which way to go or where to turn. But I'm trying to come to terms with the fact that, like, okay, I need to hide. I'm basically in the hive of enemies. So I need to find a way to avoid detection and get my bearings and go from there. So I find some of those medical scrubs, like basically I take that guy's clothes, because some way, somehow, even though I tore him in half, his clothes were okay. So I put his clothes on me, and now I was like, okay, I got to disguise, because these people were running around killing folks. So being covered in blood, it wasn't like anybody would notice that, right? So I put his clothes on and I walk out, and I run into one of the people that I recognized. In this dream, there's going to be a couple of people that I run into, and he's one of them. He's going to be the underling of these two sellout coon Jakes. One is like the school principal or the campus head or whatever, director, whatever you want to call him. And then there was his Southern Kingdom underling. I don't know if he was a Judite, Benjamite, or Levite. I'm not sure, but I ran into him, and he was like, "Hey," because he recognized me. He knew who I was. Because even when I was in school, I was always, even though I'm small in stature, I was always recognized for my strength. I've always been, exceptionally strong for my size. Even people who are usually far larger than me find out that I'm strong, or if not stronger than them. Folks who outweigh me by like 100 pounds often would find that out the hard way, because I used to wrestle and stuff and lift weights. But either way, he knew who I was, and he was like, "Man, what the hell are you doing here?" I figured your ass would be dead of all people. And I was like, man, I had to come up with something. And at the last second, I was like, man, I sold out, man. I figured it wasn't worth it. I didn't want to be one of them. I see what happened to them. They're dead. They're beneath us. And he was like, damn right. And then from there, he just walked away. And I was like, oh, shit, okay. I dodged a bullet. And then I started looking around, and I was like, okay, so I need to get out of here. So I start going down this long staircase, and then I run into another Jake that, and it was another Southern Kingdom, but he was in one of my groups, one of my classes, right? And keep in mind, I'm 36 years old. I ain't been in high school in forever. I never went to college, but I have worked a lot in corporate buildings. I typically do IT corporate support and stuff like that. But I run into this Jake, and we're going down the stairs, and he catches up and he gets next to me, and he's like, "Yo, what are you doing here?" And I could tell he really wanted information. And I was like, I sold out. I'm kind of like sketched out, looking to the side and shit. And he could tell I'm not telling the truth. I'm like, yeah, I sold out, man. It's not worth it. And yeah. And then as we're walking, there's this Edomite. He's probably maybe about 8 or 9 paces behind us. So he can't really hear us if we start whispering. So all of a sudden, and I have to note some of the characteristics about this Edomite who was walking behind us. He was very blank. There was no emotion. It was almost like he was staring straight forward as we went down this, almost like it was not a circular staircase, but it was like in an arc. It didn't go all the way around, right? But in the center of that arc was an area where you could walk. So how if you've ever been in a corporate building, sometimes they'll have basically stair rooms like that where you can go down the stairs, but the center basically has like a layer or like a false flooring that you could walk on, worst case scenario. But either way, we're going down these stairs, and I turn to the Jake. I'm like, hey man, we got to cut the bullshit, man. I got shot. And he's like, what do you mean you got shot? And I'm like, man, I got shot in the face, and everything went black. But I'm here and I'm okay. I don't know what's going on. And then he kind of hesitates for a second, and he's like, yo, I got shot too. Man, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm trying to figure it out myself. And then I was like, yo, so we might be part of the elect, And then at that point, we all of a sudden this Edomite were taking too long, and it was like movements that are far too deliberate and calculated and fluid for an Edomite. That's one thing that I've noticed throughout my life, how we move. We are very fluid people. Even when we're not trained to be, we typically learn very quickly and we become very fluid in our movements. This Edomite, all of a sudden, he jumps like probably about 8 or 9 feet in the air, lands on this center part of that false flooring, and he slides on one leg down the downward slope of the other side, because it was almost like a false dome. And then he jumped another like 10 or 15 feet in the air, and he landed on the stairs, and he started going down the stairs far faster than what a normal human should be able to do. So at this only created more questions. I was like, yo, so what would happen if they reconstituted you? What would it mean? You know, because it seemed like he was almost like a slave, like a drone, right? But he was imbued with like obviously superhuman dexterity and speed. I was like, oh shit, like what's going on? So I get to the bottom of the stairs and I run into that underling again, that coon sellout Jake. And that other dude I was talking to, he was still there, but we weren't talking at that point. We were kind of trying to like disassociate and pretend like we weren't really affiliated with one another. And we're just looking at all the carnage that happened. And I see all these people in these scrubs, the same medical scrubs that I'm wearing. And they all have a reconstitution gun, that thing I found in the closet. And basically what they were going around doing is they were finding people who have been shot in the head and killed. They were basically like shooting them again in the head, in the cranial region, and it would reconstitute their head and make them into like a drone or a slave. And they were all like prepared to go around the campus and start doing that. If you see my hands coming in camera, it's because I talk with my hands, okay? But the underling notices me again. And, the higher up dude, he starts to engage me. And he's like, hey, so you decided to come on board, huh? And I was like, yes, sir. Like trying to be, like direct, because I understand like this is the leader. So, I want to put on the best false veneer that I can. So I'm like, yes, sir. I'm not like one of them. I figured, there was nothing to gain by dying. So, I figured I'd sell out. And he was like, you right on that. Good to have you. Because, apparently, they have been looking at certain, people as candidates, and there were sellouts. I was seeing, all types of students who had basically just, said, fuck it, I don't want to die. I'm just going to go ahead and sell out or do whatever. And then just as, he finished talking to me, because him and his underling had stuff they had to tend to, I see that Edomite that I had been competing against earlier. And he eyed me like with absolute hatred, but apparently we were on the same team. So, he looked at me and I could feel the animosity, but that was it. He just kind of walked away. And then then the dream started to get a little sporadic at this point, where I would run into people who, some who looked like they were obviously Israelites, some Northern Kingdomers, some mostly Southern Kingdom. But I would run into every once and again an Edomite who they would always have the same story. I got shot, and then all of a sudden I was back, and I don't know what happened. And then it was almost like we started to form a small resistance where we would meet in secret, and then we would plan things and do things together. And that's where the dream ended, really. Woke up to, my wife's alarm clock. We both have alarm clocks. Hers goes off, I think 15 minutes earlier than mine. But, I couldn't even go back to sleep, and I only got like 4 hours of sleep. So I should have been exhausted. But I woke up and I was just like, man, I don't even know what to think, man. Like, I got a vision of what it might be like to be part of the elect. But just to highlight a few things, when tearing that guy in half, the strength was second nature. It wasn't like, I had to scream like Dragon Ball or, make some type of bestial war cry. No, it was just like, just do your thing. And I just grabbed them and ripped them. It was insane. And in terms of like the I don't know, there was just something, there was a certain luster about the people who were special, right? I could just tell who they were. Like, even if they tried to hide it, and we were attracted to one another. So it wasn't like I had to guess if they were being honest or anything like that. It was just like, I could see it in them and they could see it in me. We could feel it in one another. And that was about it. I mean, I'm gonna keep this short and brief, because yeah, I understand people have a lot of things to do, and people are busy. But if this manages to get shared, and I pray in the name of Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, that it does, because the visions and dreams of our people concerning the elect and the chosen need to be shared, even if it's not me. I would like nothing more than this dream to be a motivating tool to those who do endeavor, who do perform the work, to continue on and to strengthen their faith. This is the scripture that I end most of my lessons with, and I'm going to go ahead and grab it. And it's in Revelations 22. All right? Because I just want to keep it brief. And it's Revelations 22:14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city. We're almost out of here, guys. I mean, the frequency of dreams that people are having, the things that are occurring on this earth, the disasters, the frequency and scale, the desperation that we see on the faces of our enemies, the heathen nations, and those who have disavowed their responsibility to keep the commandments and to come back unto the Most High. I mean, the things that are occurring on this planet, it should be very apparent to anybody who's in this truth that we're almost out of here. And to those of you who are deliberating on what you want to do, how do you want to choose, let this be an ensign and a signal to you that it's time to get right, to reassume your station as a servant of the Most High Power. All right. With that, I say shalom, peace be to the elect in the 1/3, and peace be unto the elders of Israel who are teaching and leading our people in lieu of the arrival of our King Yahushua. All praises be unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushua and Abba Babal.